There will be no equal playing field with this.
Big decision today by the Supreme Court. They've
unanimous.
Yeah, unanimous, 9-0 unanimous decision to allow unlimited benefits for student athletes as long as those benefits are tied to education. And so while this does not mean that you have boosters that automatically come in and start paying players, or universities can just just cash a check or cut a check to an amateur athlete, what it is going to allow is for those funds to be tied to education. So, are you going to be able to provide me with a postgraduate job guaranteed? Can you provide me with a paid internship? Can you give me a laptop computer? Can I have a cell phone?
Can you buy my books?
Anything you can tie to education, more than just a scholarship. The Supreme Court has ruled in a unanimous decision, 9-0, that yes, in fact, as an athlete, you can expect those things from your university.
It's going to be interesting to see who utilizes this to their advantage over other schools, because there will be no equal playing field with this. Not that there's an equal playing field now, but who is going to be the most creative with it? I mean, look, it's a huge win for the student athlete. First and foremost, it's great for them, but I immediately think about who is going to be the most creative in how to not necessarily skirt the rules, but to give the athlete more than the school they're recruiting against.
Well, what if you're within driving distance of the campus and you need a new car?
That's for educational purposes.
You're going to class in that car.
Or a place to live.
I mean, if you're, the next step with this is we will all start thinking outside the box.
Well, you've got a place to live.
How do you
as
toe
part
the
of
line?
Scholarship, right?
I'm really worried about college sports and what's going to happen. It's not going to be cut and dry, simple. Pay players, give them benefits, name, image, likeness. They deserve it. It's just not going to be that simple. And this is not me being some fuddy-duddy that just wants to go back to 50 years ago the way it was. But college football, college basketball, the two I'll bring up, they've worked for years. Now, we can sit here and say, college basketball especially, they've cheated like crazy at the highest levels for years. But whatever these schools have done, above the rules, below the rules, in between, whatever, it's worked for a good product for years. I don't know how the product's going to turn out now. I don't know how the transfer portal is going to affect everything 5 years from now. We know how it's affecting things now. It's complete roster turnover for a lot of teams in college basketball from year to year, because you can cycle out an entire roster with the transfer portal. With all this stuff mixing together, I fear for the future of college sports and what it's going to look like.
Well, for decades, we've seen the NCAA defend what it's been doing by saying that the scholarship is enough. That's how these athletes are being, quote-unquote, paid. They're being paid with the scholarship. And now the Supreme Court, with this ruling, is redefining the amateur status of college athletes. And on top of that, state by state, the name, image, likeness part of this is coming into play, where at the 1st of July, Georgia's going to announce the NIL, a deal that they've cut with a 5-star freshman quarterback that's coming to campus. That's under and completely legal under the Georgia state law now. So we are entering into a different world altogether, albeit a world that has been going on. There's been an underground of this going on at the highest level. And I think we all agree that, you know, what has happened behind the scenes, sometimes it's don't ask, don't tell. In this case, it's all going to be out there and open, and that's what worries, I think, Chad, you the most, is once we open that door and allow everybody to do it, there's no turning back.
Well, and it's also about value, okay? If we're talking about value. Like, I don't think that a football player who's not playing on Saturdays, this is going to piss a lot of people off. They're not worth the free computer and the free lodging and the free car and the free everything else that starters are going to get.
It's depth chart.
Yes, they're working just as hard, yada, 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 whatever. From a sheer value standpoint of wins they're producing, of what they're doing on the field in games, it's not worth it. But what is Arch Manning worth to a school?
Right. But
I mean, he's worth the #1 pick in the NFL draft money for 3 years to a school.
But you're worth whatever that university is willing to give you to be there.
And what would a university be willing to give, and what would boosters be willing to give? What would LSU boosters be willing to give to keep Arch Manning in the state of Louisiana, the first Manning brother, the first Manning son, father, whatever, to go to LSU and to keep them there for 3 years? With the way the rules are set up now, to have to be there 3 years, what is it worth to LSU? What is it worth to Ole Miss? What is it worth to Tennessee to lure a quarterback like Arch Manning? I think it's first overall pick NFL draft money for 3 years that they're at that school.
What happens when you're a notch below Arch Manning, all right? You're not a sure thing quarterback, but you're a popular quarterback, and you've been recruited. But they've recruited another quarterback, and you get to the school and you're worth the computer and the car and whatever, but then you lose out and you decide you're going to the transfer portal. Do they take the computer back? Do they take the car back? This is a very unwieldy thing.
And right? I would say yes.
And I'm not saying that, well, good luck getting the computer back, in a lot of these things. I'm not saying I want bureaucracy, right? I don't think any of us want bureaucracy, but I also don't want the wild, wild west. And so...
Well, it's already that.
Right. But
those dudes are already getting laptops and cars.
I know. But something has to rein this in to some degree. I can't see how, and I think the NCAA has largely lost all of its power. But you can't have name, image, likeness take off if it's legal in Georgia on July 1st and it's not. We've talked about this. In the same conference where one school has it and 3 schools don't or whatever, NCAA has to wield some power at this and say you can't go forward until the league all has it or all doesn't or whatever. Conferences have to dictate some rules on this. And I would say at this point, wouldn't it be great if there was some governing bodies, conferences or nationwide, that actually could responsibly monitor some of this stuff, legislate it in a reasonable fashion, and ensure that there was some level of oversight? That's a naive, I know how silly that sounds. That ship has sailed a long, long time ago. But it is, I think, what the moment requires.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified every time Outkick 360 goes live. We are live weekdays, 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern, right here across the Outkick network. And while you're at it, like this video and let us know what you think in the comments below.